So I'm getting sued by Chase Bank.
Who would have thought that credit cards are suing people now for an old debt? That's never happened.
All right, guys, come with me to get sued. Yeah, we're getting ready. We're already ready. Do I look like suable?
Okay, so similar to the last video that I uploaded on this channel, I'm pretty under the weather while recording this. So if I do sound a little off, that's the reason why. But today we're going to be taking a look at some people getting sued over their credit card debt. I feel like there are many people out there who think that they could just keep kicking the can down the road when it comes to paying their credit card, and it'll end up with companies getting tired and frustrated. They'll either settle for something significantly less or completely cut their losses, especially when the balances aren't that high, at least in comparison to some of the people we've seen on this channel. But that's just not the case. More and more people are being taken to court because of this every day, whether you owe tens of thousands of dollars or maybe just a couple $100. We have a lot to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start this video with someone who did not know that this happens.
What's up, guys? So let me give y'all a story time about what happened today. So I'm home just chilling this morning, drinking my coffee. All of a sudden I get a knock on the door, and it's the sheriff from the courthouse that came here to serve me some paperwork because Credit One is suing me for an old debt from 2021. Who would have thought that credit cards are suing people now for an old debt? That's never happened before, to me at least. And I literally got served, and they're telling me I have 30 days to get in contact with them and try to make an arrangement. Now, let me know who has that happened to, or who's ever heard of that, because this is the first time I ever hear about a credit card company suing anyone, like, especially from like 2021.
Okay, she's making it sound like 2021 was like 30 years ago. It's only 4 years. The debt is not that old. And what did you think was going to happen if you didn't pay off the card? It would just go to collections one day, you take a credit hit, and it would just disappear off the face of the earth? Let alone the fact that Credit One is probably one of the worst credit card companies on the planet. I'm not surprised whatsoever that they're taking you to court. I just thought it was funny that she didn't even believe that this happens. And some of the comments, yes, this absolutely happens. I'm currently paying back 3 cards and got served 2. Don't ignore it. I feel like it's still fairly new. Yes, only a couple years, happens all the time. We'll see some of the consequences of people ignoring it later in the video. We also have a comment from one of you guys right here. My friend had a roommate who thought all you owed was just the minimum payments every month, no matter how much you spent on your credit card. This was a college graduate. So we could see how rough the financial literacy is for a lot of people out there. Don't really know what to say about that one, but we'll just move on to the next clip with a crash out.
Discover, count your days. Count your days. Y'all sued me for a credit card that you gave me 10 years ago, and you gave me a $10,000 credit limit at 21 years old. Okay? So you sued me. I get it. I didn't pay it back. That was my fault. I fell on hard times, okay? I had a lot of shit I went through, okay? So I didn't pay him. Y'all sued me. I tried to work with the lawyer and say, hey, I can only afford $50 a month. Okay, I can only afford $50 a month. Like, literally, I work 3 jobs. I do DoorDash. I don't know. What else do you want from me? They said, no, 160. And I was like, well, no, I can't afford that. And then they said, oh, well, can you borrow money from someone? No, if I could borrow money from someone, I would, and I would give it to you. Trust me, I'm not trying to say I didn't do it, but I don't have the money. I don't have it. Okay, so y'all sued me, and I got a letter because the judge ruled in favor of them, obviously. But I got a letter, and the letter pretty much says, hey, so you gotta pay this, and there's gonna be interest on it until it's paid in full.
So this entire situation just got worse. I would like to add on the possibility of her also having to pay attorney's fees along with the interest and everything that she owed initially, but I did think it was funny that she was angry that she got a $10,000 credit limit at 21 years old, and that's supposed to be the fault of the credit card company that gave it to her. I guess there wasn't any responsibility on her end to not max it out, but we could go over to the comments. Discover is ruthless. I'm dealing with almost the same thing. I remember several other examples from older videos saying basically that as well. None of these credit card companies are messing around anymore. Another comment from you guys, the craziest thing about these videos is how willing everyone is to share deeply concerning financial issues. And I definitely understand that, but hopefully these types of videos are some sort of scared straight for anybody out there watching. Maybe they don't have the financial knowledge. It's not like they're purposely trying to crash their finances. They just never learned in the first place. And if you keep seeing horror story after horror story like this, hopefully you'll take a very different path in life. I mean, here we have another example of somebody getting roped into this when they didn't even spend all the money on their cards.
So now I'm at Mel's Plus. I've got to fax some paperwork to the magistrate court because a certain someone had me take out a bunch of credit cards, promised to pay them. My credit score was like at a 700 and now it's like, I believe at a 400 and something maybe. But so yeah, someone's trying to sue me, so I have to go to court. So here we are, Mel's Plus. Let's get this faxed.
So this is like co-signing on a car loan with somebody who is not financially responsible. And because you put your name on the dotted line, you took out those credit cards for someone else who just said that they were going to pay it back. Now you personally are on the hook for all of that money and you're getting sued. I don't know, that just seems like a wild choice to me, but we can move on.
Capital One will take you to court. Guys, Capital One is known one of the biggest credit card companies that will take you to court, and this happens when you take too long to pay a collection. The reason this happens is the client will get multiple collection letter companies from the third party, and when they don't respond after a few months or years, they end up taking the client to court. Now, how do you stop this? The best way to do this is once you get a pre-trial letter from that company, you want to call and negotiate for 50% of the amount due. This is going to help you save money and also requesting a pay per delete.
Now this could go different for everybody trying to negotiate down your payments. We already saw earlier with the woman trying to pay $50 a month and they wanted $150, so they did take her to court and she ended up losing and the whole situation got a lot worse. But this kind of stuff does take time as well, a few years. So maybe you think you'll get away with it just like some of the comment section does, but eventually they're going to come for their money no matter how big or small it is. I owed them $800 for 6 years and haven't heard from them. I owe them $200. Will they take it to court? Yes, they will for that small amount. We will see in a little bit why. I owed them $900 for 10 years, never paid, laughing emoji. I'll never forget I had the sheriff serving me. Another experience here from you guys. My late mother was sued by several credit cards back in the 90s for non-payments. It was close to 6 figures in debt 30 years ago, so that's a lot more money in today's world. She refused to make a payment plan. She would just throw the letters away, ignoring it. Makes it all worse. Eventually they took her to court and put a lien on her house. It took almost 2 decades for my mother to pay them back. You just lost so much of your life paying back all of those debts. Wow.
Alright guys, come with me to get sued. Yeah, we're getting ready. We're already ready. Do I look like suable? I don't know, I didn't do nothing wrong. I just didn't pay my credit card for like 2 years. It's currently 8:45. I get sued at 9:30, so let's go. Alright guys, so I have to surrender myself by the end of the day. I'm going to jail for 6 months. Just kidding, it's really like no light, bro. Capital One just went nuts on everybody in Milwaukee. There was like 20 people there and they were all from Capital One. We gotta do better with credit cards. Stop giving us credit cards, please.
Again, shifting the blame onto the credit card companies even though you applied for it. And I know this makes it sound like I'm secretly sponsored by some of these credit cards, which I know how predatory and awful they could be with 20 or 30% interest rates. While you're paying down your debts, you'll actively be getting credit line increases to incentivize you to buy more. It can be a brutal situation, but still, you have to have some sort of self-discipline or responsibility to yourself to not ruin your life financially like this. And another example of Capital One not messing around. Everybody in that court all had the same situation. They were all getting sued for their debt. Capital One did that to me. I didn't pay for about 5 months and they started garnishing my wages for $1,500. Then when it was paid, they sent me another offer for a higher credit limit. That's what I was just talking about. No way you're getting sued for credit card payments. Just pay the bare minimum due until February and then use your taxes on them. Even when you pay the minimum payments, the interest gets worse every single month And hopefully your tax return will be enough to pay the overall balance. If not, you're just in a never-ending cycle. Another comment here, these people have a problem beyond needing to be financially re-educated. How can anyone think it's okay to take out tens of thousands of dollars without ever needing to pay it back? There's definitely a different thought process with swiping or tapping a credit card compared to legitimately going to a bank and taking out a loan. That seems a lot more serious to people compared to just buying stuff constantly online, putting in a couple numbers or swiping, and then you get whatever item or product you bought and you just do it over and over again. It's not that serious until they take you to court. A clip up on screen right now, I'm getting sued by a credit card company and have court tomorrow. I'm poor. Any tips? And when you go over to the comment section, can I ask you what credit card company it was? TJ Maxx credit card. So just another example of why I say this kind of stuff over and over again, especially with overconsumption. You go to Best Buy or TJ Maxx, really any of these stores, and they all have credit cards that you could open that they'll try to sell you on when you're at the cashier, especially if it's a larger purchase. Maybe you'll get an extra 10% off or triple the amount of points, something like that, right? All you gotta do is take out the TJ Maxx credit card or the Best Buy one. You'll get extra points shopping here with the card also, and then you do that week after week, racking up the balance. And then unfortunately it snowballs so much that you get into this situation, and all those TJ Maxx fines don't seem too worth it in the end. But there are many people who believe that these credit card companies wouldn't care if you have a few hundred or maybe $1,000 or so dollars racked up, because that's not a lot of money to them. These are huge conglomerates that make millions or billions of dollars. So they're not going to deal with small fish like you and take you to court, but that's not true either. We have a comment and a clip that goes along with this. I work in a law office where these are the majority of the cases we deal with. There are so many cases like this that we send over 200 letters alerting people that they're being sued for their debt on a daily basis. And this clip backs up that claim as well.
People always ask me, how can my creditor afford to pay an attorney hourly to sue me for a debt that's under $1,000? And what I tell them is, it's because most of these law firms are mills who work on volume, don't charge an hourly fee, but instead are simply compensated a percentage of the amount they collect from you. These debt collection mills file as many lawsuits as possible on behalf of large credit card companies such as Discover, Capital One, and Citibank. Like any industry, you have pigs and you have hogs. Pigs get fat, but hogs get slaughtered. One such hog was a place out of New York called Forrester and Garbus. This law firm filed 99,000 lawsuits over a 3-year period. If they worked every single weekday during that time, that would be 380 suits per day.
So maybe it's only a few $100s each, $500, possibly $1,000, but if they're doing almost 400 a day, even getting a small percentage of a return on that could be a crazy amount of money. So you think that it still might be petty to go after somebody for a few $100, but it's still worth it to them. And this comment goes well with that. It's only $1,000 when it's someone else's money. It's never only $1,000 when it's their money. So overall, it doesn't matter how big or small the debt is, they'll still go after you if they want. So this next example we have to break up into several parts because this is a very long, interesting story, but we'll just jump right into it.
So I'm getting sued by Chase Bank. I wish I was kidding. If you've been here a while through my campaign, you may remember this video.
I pull up my bank account app and my account is in the negatives, like hundreds of dollars in the negatives. I'm like, what happened? And there was a transaction from Chase Bank that I did not authorize, and they completely cleaned out my entire bank account.
So that video goes on to say that I was on the phone with Chase for 3 hours asking them what happened, if they can cancel the transaction. They said no, they can't cancel it because it's pending. They can't refund it, and there's nothing they can do. And this was on a Friday going into the weekend. They left me without any money, and I ended up having to borrow money from my mom and my brother.
Okay, so the first part of this clip to me sounds like somebody got into her account, right? Some scammer and took all of her money and she got completely screwed. That's what I was thinking initially, but that's just not the case. I'm gonna go back and forth to the comment section to add a little more context during this story because she had credit card debt. Why do you have such big credit card debt? She responds, $5,000 is big debt, question mark? I would personally say, yeah, $5,000 is a significant amount of money. I would would believe that she would think that's a lot of money too, especially when we get later in the video. I used it for our honeymoon and have been paying it back for 2 years before I was between jobs. Okay, so keep that in your mind and we'll move on.
And I called Chase to let them know, like, hey, I don't have an income. I can't make the minimum due. Minimum due was like around $175. I was like, is there any way we can like extend out the due date until I get a job, or maybe I can make like half of a payment? And they were like, nope, this is what you do. You got to pay it by the due date or you're going to hit late fees. Well, I couldn't give Chase what I didn't have. So I had to miss a few payments. And by the time I got a job, I went to go make a payment because I was making money now. And I see that my minimum due had over than doubled. And so I called Chase. I said, hey, I have a job now. Can we get my payments back to where they were? Because now it's like over almost $400. And they're like, nope, sorry. You have all these missed payments plus the late fees plus the interest that has accrued. This is what you owe, pay by the due date. I can't afford that. I can't afford to pay that much money. And again, they pretty much said, sorry, not sorry. You have to pay the money.
And this is why I think the credit card debt videos are so important. Many people still don't realize how fast the interest could start adding up and making everything worse. Even when she got a job and started to make some money, she was still falling behind. But again, we'll go over to the comment section. Who quits a job knowing they have financial responsibilities? She had a house, all the utility bills, everything that goes along with that they won't be able to meet without said job. So she ended up leaving without any sort of plan or money behind her. Not the best decision in my opinion, but we'll keep going.
And then July 19th happened and they just emptied my bank account to make my minimum due payment. And so like I had to shut down my whole bank account, open a fraud claim, get the money back, and open a whole new bank account because of this whole thing with Chase. Well, now here we are a year later and they are trying to serve me papers. They have not served me papers yet, but I found out today on the phone while I was trying to make a payment that they gave my account to this law firm to collect on their behalf. I offered them $2,000 today. I was like, can we settle for $2,000 today? I don't have $2,000. I just wanted to see if they would say yes. They said no, that their client would not accept that little amount when I owe $13,000. Mind you, I did not borrow $13,000. I did not spend $13,000. That is how much accrued from late fees and interest and me like not making the payments. This is where I asked for help. I know right now it's the government shutdown. People are about to lose SNAP benefits and it's the holidays. So I don't even know if anybody has anything that they can help with. But if you can help, I have a Cash App and Venmo in my bio, in my link tree.
Okay, so we're going to end the clip there. Several things to talk about. It seems like Chase went into her bank account and took all the money out to be able to start paying her credit cards back. I'm not sure if that's allowed or not. Seems like a pretty shady practice to me. However, I don't know what their terms and conditions are. Maybe you agreed to it with the 100 pages that nobody ever reads. Probably not the smartest thing to have your credit cards and bank account all in the same place. But still, quitting a job when you have a lot of financial responsibility along with debt from a previous honeymoon, and then on top of it asking for money online through Cash App. I mean, we could go to this comment asking for donations for credit card debt is really something. Sorry, but this is how credit cards work. You have to pay the money back. So this extra caveat I thought was particularly interesting. This is somebody with almost 400,000 followers on TikTok, who, if you heard earlier in the video, had a campaign. This is somebody, a former Tennessee state candidate. So this is somebody who wants to be in politics. I know how divisive that could be online, but I did think it was funny that somebody who didn't make the best financial decisions and then asked for money online wants to have a future career in politics. I just think that's rich. But we could go over to a comment from one of you guys that goes well with this. Don't pay your debt and then be incredibly surprised when creditors show up is peak intelligence. I don't know what a lot of these people expected, and I'm not trying to say that 100% of them are just going and buying designer and going on vacations, cars, whatever. There's an increasing amount of people that are getting into this trouble just trying to survive.
Asking for a friend, what happens when you get sued by a credit card company? What should you do? Should you get an attorney? Should you pay them back? Should you try to settle? Should you try to contact the credit card company? What happens if you owe other credit card companies? Should you try to figure out a payment arrangement even though you can't pay for anything right now? Bankruptcy is on the table. I will say that. I think there are so many Americans right now that are going through the same situation where they have to stop paying for their credit cards to use that money for groceries. Otherwise, you pay for your credit cards, but then you end up using that same credit card to pay for your groceries, so it's like a never-ending cycle. Then you also have to pay your mortgage, your rent, your bills, the utilities, things that absolutely need to be paid, daycare, groceries, gas.
And I would like to add to this people using BNPL loans a lot as an alternative, even though you're basically using the same thing. Some people don't realize, but it's just another version of the credit card, especially if you don't pay. The 4 or 6 easy installments, you get behind on those, the interest starts accruing, and now it affects your credit score also. So I get it. If people are genuinely in a very tough situation, I'd rather be in debt and have groceries than be dead. But still, you have to know what you're getting into and be very careful because you can be taken to court.
I got sued by American Express for a credit card that I never paid back. What should I do? I mean, pay it. You know, if you got sued for a debt that you actually recognize and accumulated, the best option is to not just ignore it, it's to pay it. You can reach out to the law firm or American Express and come to a payment plan with them in order to settle and satisfy the debt. Otherwise, if you ignore it, then you could potentially have it lead to a judgment or even worse, a garnishment where they're pulling the money out of your paycheck directly and you don't have a choice in that matter anymore. So I recommend, again, if you happen to get sued on an account that you recognize, make sure to respond. You typically have 20 days to respond to a summons.
And now we can start talking about what happens when you start ignoring these debts. Some people believe that as soon as it gets sold to a debt collection agency that you just don't have to pay anymore. They'll call you, maybe you block some numbers, and you could completely ignore it and nothing will happen. I had a debt collector call me at work earlier telling me they purchased a debt from a credit card company back in 2021, and it was now a total of $800. Can you make that payment today? No, and I won't. You bought the debt, so it's yours now, and hung up. That's the sentiment that I've seen pretty often. We'll go over to the comments. Yeah, I tried that. Guess what happened? A week later, a sheriff came to my door and handed me paperwork, sued me, and I ended up having to pay. They're going to sue you, talking from experience. I got served over a $1,700 Zales credit card debt. Some collectors will take you to court. I paid all my debts when I got out of nursing school because I'm not trying to be sued. They could sue you for it. In most cases, you signed off somewhere agreeing that the debt could be sold to a third-party collector. If they sue you, they could very easily win. We got some clips here also from very popular debt collectors talking about the same thing.
When debt collectors sue you, they actually don't want you to respond back to their court serving. As a matter of fact, they're counting on the fact that you will not respond because they will win automatically by default at the court. Debt collectors like the ones up here will garnish your wages if you ignore debt lawsuits if you've been served by one of them. When you get served, you have to respond.
So this could be just as bad as the credit card companies. I just want people to be more aware of this kind of stuff.
Midland Credit will sue you. This right here is an official order to appear for a lawsuit that Midland Credit is filing against my client for a collection that she ignored. Once things get to this point, your options are not the same as if you were to just dispute your collections before they filed a lawsuit. These collection agencies' entire business model is to purchase your debt from the original creditor and then come after you with lawsuits in hopes to basically scare you into paying that money. But they're purchasing that debt without also receiving the ability to validate that debt. So if she would have just disputed this before it turned into a lawsuit, she would have a lot smaller of a headache on her hand. Now she either has to represent herself in court, or more realistically, because she's one of our clients, we're going to negotiate this to settle on her behalf. If you have collections from Midland Credit or any of the other guys, LVNV Funding, Portfolio Recovery, guys, they love to sue.
We could take a look at a comment from this video. X is being sued for a debt and it's under her name, but my social security and birthday. What can we do? It seems like you're roped into this one as well, like the earlier example. I have one, LOL. I think they said they'll sue me, but I ignored it. And keep getting calls. Yeah, keep doing that, even though everybody's telling you not to. Wonder what's gonna happen. Another comment from you guys here. Right out of college, I worked for a finance company, a retail credit card firm, and in hospital finance. I had to appear in court on behalf of companies suing debtors dozens of times. Never once did the debtor come out on top. I've had to do repossessions, had to track people down after disappearing for years, find out where they worked, and had their pay garnished. Take it from me, this is real. You cannot hide from it forever. I just want people to take this a lot more seriously than it seems like people are, especially from the comment section. But we could take a look at a couple examples of just wild situations on things that aren't 100% their fault.
Just served me for $31K debt that I owe them back from 2023. I beat cancer and I had used my credit cards to survive. And they're finally coming after me. It's $31K. They just served me. Does anyone know what I do? What do I do? Please tell
Unfortunately, American Express is another one that does not joke around. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't look like any of these credit card companies joke around whatsoever, but $31,000 in the hole to survive cancer. I know I made a video previously on insurance, and that brings in the healthcare system as well, how much of a joke it is, on top of how extremely expensive it is, just to be able to save your own life. I owed them $25,000. They sent me a settlement letter for $10,000. Amex doesn't play. I filed bankruptcy in 2000, and I'm still on their blacklist. They really hold a grudge. But we'll finish off this video with this clip.
Story time on why I'm being sued. In 2020, I was on a Frontier Airlines flight, and they said, "Do you want a credit card?" And I was 18, and I said, "Yeah, I want a credit card," and they gave me one. Well, I was a freshman in college, and I quickly maxed out that credit card. I paid it for the first, 9 months, and then they were like, "You've got to do a security check." So I said, "Okay," and they said, "What's your social security number?" And I told them, and they said, "Wrong. Hun, that's the only one I've got." They wouldn't let me into my account. Didn't know the social security number that they had. They wrote it down wrong. I gave them my social security number. So I proceeded over the next few months, which I wasn't paying because I couldn't pay. I couldn't get into the account. They wouldn't let me pay or do anything. And I faxed them my social security number, my card, multiple times. And I would call and they'd be like, "We didn't get it." "Babe, who'd I send my social security card to then?" Finally, I talked to the collections agent and I was like, "Babe, they don't have my correct social security number. I can't pay." And she said, "Oh, well, I guess you're fine." And I didn't think about it for 2.5 years. Till recently, when I got a Credit Karma notification saying my credit had dropped 200 points. So basically they're suing because I haven't paid it, but I can't pay it. I'm not trying to get out of paying it. I'll pay it. I have no way to do that. So dumb.
I really don't know what to make of this. I feel like something is missing with this story. You can't be held liable if they don't have the correct social. How are they hitting your credit if they don't even have your social security number? Another person, how did your score drop if they didn't have your social security number correct? Make them prove it's your account. I know these credit card companies do a fair share of shady tactics as well, but either way, if you get into this kind of situation, it makes your life a living hell.
So I'm getting sued by a credit card company. It's an old credit card. I have trial this morning, and I was served my papers about 2 months ago, and I've done a lot of research as far as what I need to do, what I should say, and from what I was seeing in other videos, a lot of you guys actually are going through the same thing. So I tried to do my own research, got as ready as I think I could be, got all my papers and stuff this morning. We'll see how this turns out. I'm about to go in. My trial is I have the appointment for my trial at 11 a.m. so it's in less than an hour here. But if I end up coming out on top, I'll try to make another video if you guys are interested, just in regards to what I did, what I said, the route I took in order to fight this thing back. So wish me luck, and I'll see you guys after court.
What I find interesting with a lot of these clips having to fight back and what you're supposed to say in court, I guess a win is to try to settle, is that it's almost like these people didn't run up their cards in the first place. Now, I know there are some cases right now in 2025 with the high cost of living, people are just buying necessities with their credit cards because they can't afford to survive on their salary. But as we're going to see, a lot of people have the exact same excuse. Oh, it was a really old credit card. I thought I'd pay it back eventually. Maybe it wasn't even a lot of money, so they basically played chicken with the credit card companies. Oh, you won't sue me for $1,000, and then they go and do it. Some of the examples in this video are crazy because people actually had the money, they just decided not to pay it off. I don't know what the thought process is, but we can look at a couple of the comments and hear the polar opposite stories. I had court for a credit card and didn't go and nothing happened. Guess what I got? Another credit card. Sounds like somebody who would just be perpetually in debt, never saving up for anything, getting whatever they want, and never being financially ahead. Along with the next comment, I filed bankruptcy when they tried suing me. Another reason why I don't like bankruptcy, it's just a reset switch for people, not an actual way to change their lives, almost like a get out of jail free card. We have another Bank of America sued me. I didn't go, which I should have. 7 years later, they found out where I worked and garnished my wages. That almost took me out. Always show up. Same exact thing happened with a comment from one of you guys. I thought I was going to skip out on my debt, but then I got sued. I guess it's kind of the same mentality with the PPP loan fraud. If I just don't respond and it's been years, they won't go after me. They'll just forget about it. They got more important stuff to do. And honestly, that's just not the case.
Get ready with me to go and get sued. A couple weeks ago, I was sitting at my house when a lovely police officer came over and served me papers and let me know that I was being sued and had to make an appearance in court. So I'm like, okay, this is a prank. I'm actually being sued. Come to find out, I am being sued for a credit card that I had when I was like 18 years old, 6 or 7 years ago. And these heifers are suing me all this time later.
So another reason why I think being financially literate at a very young age is so important right now. Hopefully my type of videos could bring in a younger audience, even with all the TikTok drama. The crazy stories of people being in debt will hopefully persuade you to not follow in their footsteps, because she was 18 years old and it was 6 or 7 years later. So before we look at the comments real quick, this is a TikTok account with 1.6 million followers. Massive influencer, which means a significant amount of money is coming in as well. And she commented on her own video, this is a judgment-free zone, so no mean comments about my dumb decisions. Because clearly people would look at the account, know that she would be making a good amount of money online, and you didn't decide to settle any of the debt, and now you're going to court because of it. Another comment asked them to settle and meet in the middle with the payoff amount, which I guess is the goal for everybody who's getting sued. I freaked out and paid it all. I was also too scared to ask to settle. So you had the money to pay it off, but you thought you could get away with it because, again, it was years ago, just like the PPP loans. And that's why I get so worried when I see so many videos like this online now.
I'm in $135,092.74 in debt.
I'm 35 years old and in $169,292.74 of debt.
I'm 31, I'm single, I live alone, and I have $29,445 in credit card debt.
I could probably make a compilation that's an hour long of exactly this over and over again. Now, I will say most of the people who talk about it on TikTok are trying to pay off their debt. I have seen some users just say really large numbers because, of course, it'll get a whole bunch of attention, and they try to start a career off of that, and then it really fizzles out. But when we start seeing videos a little bit later that these companies are suing over a couple $100 or $1,000, if you're in 5 or 6 figures worth of credit card debt, you have a way bigger chance of going to court. Another comment from one of you guys, they just made it so you could be sued by the collectors. Exactly what we're seeing. It'll automatically be deducted from your paycheck. Now, some people still aren't taking this seriously, even if you get a judgment, which I think is crazy.
There are a lot of things in this world that don't mean, but I'm here to tell you that if you are sued by a creditor because you have not paid them and they get a judgment against you, it means, okay? Coming from the lawyer. I don't know where this guy went to law school, but I'm here to tell you that if you live in any other state other than North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Pennsylvania, a creditor will take that judgment and they will garnish your ongoing wages at 25%. It's 25% here in Ohio, right off the top. They can also garnish your bank account. And oh, by the way, they can put a lien on your real estate. You know, the home that you live in with your family. Now, if you don't have a job and you don't have a bank account and you don't have real estate and you don't ever plan to have any of those, yeah, screw it. But if you do want a life, you're gonna have to address these things. Come and follow and like for more. Don't listen to this guy.
And especially with the almost YOLO mentality, which is, I know, very cringe to say in 2025, but the doom spending and instant gratification, people will just think that, oh, this is what my life's gonna be, whatever. I won't have a bank account or any land, I'm just gonna spend, do whatever I want until I'm 80 and die. But life happens and things change, especially over time. Maybe you do want a life down the road, but you've made some catastrophic choices in the past and you can't live the life that you want. But from what she said, North Carolina, South Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Texas are the only states that won't do this. We see a whole bunch of the comments. That's why Texas is so awesome. LOL. Too bad for them. I don't want to have a job, nor do I want property. Also, I'm in North Carolina. Again, you may think that way now, but it could completely change in the future. One of the best examples for myself, when I was around 17, 18 years old, I didn't want to have any kids. And now currently I'd like a somewhat big family. I guess in today's world, 3 or 4 kids. Drastically different choices, but that's what happens with time. So if you make one of these choices in the past, it could really come back to bite you in the future.
Get ready with me as I get ready for a court case as I'm getting sued by Credit One Banking from a credit card I opened up when I was 20 years old. I opened up this credit card mostly to help fund me in college. The limit was only $350, but unfortunately I broke my shoulder the same year. I have a huge scar and I couldn't pay it back. It then went to collections, and furthermost, I just thought that later on I would maybe pay it back in life. Maybe, I don't know. I would pay it back, but just not now. And then I got sued. So get ready with me. They're only suing me for $700. That's all they want, which I have in my account. But I'm gonna try and see if I can get it down just for my $350 limit. I feel like I have lived 1,000 lives for being only 26 years old.
So I would say right off the bat, $700 is pretty petty, but it is also Credit One Bank, a notoriously bad credit card company. And on the other side of the coin, even with the broken arm, I guess that means she couldn't pay it off. She just thought, oh, one day I pay it off, but never took the initiative, even though she has the $700 in the bank account right now. So she could have paid this off before she had to go to court. So whatever the settlement is, most likely it'll be a little bit less. But now it turns into a whole ordeal. Again, I don't want to go to court because I'm getting sued, possibly having to take off work, which turns into losing more money. This is something that could have been very easily avoided. Again, she had the money in the bank account already. It's not like she's broke. And now we're seeing credit card companies go after people for $700. So when we see comment sections like this, I think everybody should be worried. Girl to girl, how much credit card debt do you have? If you don't look, it's zero with almost 70,000 likes. 30,000, but if the government can be in debt, so can I. We've talked about that before as well. The difference is, even though it's extremely unfair, the government could print money and normal people cannot. We are not on an even playing field, so your entire life could be ruined, but the government will just keep chugging along. $40,000, LMAO, oops, and then even the creator saying, we're just girls, adding into the girl math and I'm just a girl trend we talked about a while ago. 2,500, it stresses me out. I don't know how people have over 10,000, and then the next comment, 15,000 in credit cards and another $7,000 loan. We have a comment from one of you guys. Klarna is getting sued for overcharging. We'll talk about that in a second. Most of my family and friends are in deep debt. If I use a credit card, I don't carry a balance. Pay it off or don't use it. Crazy living. Doomsday living and traveling for these next generations adds into the doom spending and oh, I'll never own a property. I'll never have a bank account. They can't garnish my wages if I don't have a job. I'm just going to travel forever, which definitely just isn't a realistic life. But going back to Klarna and me hating on it basically for the entirety of my channel, making people think that it's cheaper than it actually is because it's in 4 installments or 6 payments. So that $100 item turns into like $20. It gets some dopamine in your body because you could buy items all the time. Delayed gratification is a thing of the past, and then your entire life starts spiraling out of control. And surprise, surprise, Klarna losses have doubled after 136 million in customer debts went unpaid. So all the people making the arguments that I do it for whatever I can, I pay all my installments. This isn't bad for people's mental health when it comes to finances. You could see right here, over $100 million in debt unpaid. People are just not paying.
If you want to hear something really totally embarrassing for me, I was supposed to have a court date today. Yeah, I ignored a debt collector and they sent it to a law firm to sue me. And yeah, I got sued by a debt collector. And I thought the chances of that happening were like slim to none. Like it was only $1,000. Do they really want to like have to go after me for $1,000? Like what is that? No, they did. Yeah, they sent the constable to my house with the papers saying that I need to sort this out. Long story short, I settled for 80% of what I owe and I paid it all off like 12 days ago. Thankfully, like normally I would not have been able to do this, but my husband got a raise at work and it's been great. And yeah, my court date was scheduled for today. Thankfully that was canceled, but that was like the scariest thing I've ever had to do in my life. I was like, I don't just pay. I'll just pay. I'm like, I don't want to have to go to court. I have anxiety.
So because she was playing chicken with the credit card company because it was only $1,000, her husband loses an extra $800 off of his raise because she didn't want to deal with her own actions. This is crazy. No accountability. Synchronomy Bank tried that with me. I don't think I'm saying that correctly. And then the creator again, like, wow, they're so broke. They're only after little old me for $1,000. Does that mean you're even more broke because you couldn't pay off that $1,000? This video is actually more depressing than I thought it would be.
These are 3 companies that will sue you so quick and send you a summons if you go into a derogatory state with them. So starting at number 3 is going to be Citibank. Citibank does not play when it comes to the debt that you owe them. If you owe Citibank a debt, best believe they're going to do everything in their power to get that money back. And that could be sending you a summons in hopes you don't respond. That way they can garnish your wages. Number 2 is Discover. Discover will also send you a summons if you have an unpaid debt with them. Discover has a very strong legal team, and they will too send you a summons in hopes that you don't answer so that they can garnish your wages as well. They will try to get their money back, and Discover goes to extreme measures to try to do that. Number 1 is American Express. If you owe American Express money, they will go through extreme measures to try to get that money back. So Citibank, Discover, and American Express do not play when it comes to the money that is owed to them. They will do the most to try to get that money back, and that will be taking the money from your paycheck, just snatching it out so that they can get paid back. If you have defaulted with any of the 3, make sure you work it out with them. That way they don't snatch it out of your paycheck.
And one of these companies was the inspiration for this video. I guess they have a really solid legal team and they're just suing the crap out of everybody right now. And we have some comments adding on to that. Discover put a lien on my grandma's house after she passed and I had to pay $5,000 to get it cleared. They're not playing. Wow. You're absolutely right. Discover is the worst. And from what the first clip said when he was looking up information because he was getting sued, he saw that a lot of people were having the same thing done. We got one here, a credit card from 10 years ago just sued me. I've offered them what I could pay each month and they weren't happy, so they asked the judge to issue a judgment against me. Now they're going to garnish my wages I barely have. So I think the judgment is a very good segue to the next clip.
If you're being sued for a past due debt, there's only one thing that you need to know, and that's this. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. So let's say you fall behind on a debt. It goes to collections, you refuse to pay or you can't pay, and then ultimately they file a lawsuit against you. Now, assuming that you're smarter than 95% of the people who get sued, you respond to the lawsuit because if you don't respond, they're just going to get a default judgment against you and then it's just game over. So let's say you respond. Now, you've seen enough content to know that collectors need to prove their case. And let's say that in this case, you know that they can't do it. Let's say they don't have the original cardholder agreement. They don't have proof that they own the debt. So you win, right? Not necessarily. Ultimately, the case gets decided by a judge. And that judge is just a human being. And they've got their own biases and their own preconceived notions about the world. So you can win the case if you get one judge. Or if you get a different one, maybe you're going to lose it. And it's completely up to chance which way it's going to go.
So if you get sued and decide to go to court and not pay off your debt, you want the result of what will happen to you to be on one single person. You have no idea what they're like. Basically, everything is in their hands. It just seems like a very scary situation to me. What happens if they want to make an example out of you? All because you didn't pay off your credit card debt, which could be as little as $1,000 or $350. Just not something that I want to mess with at all. So when we see clips like this, I get even more worried for the creator.
So let's talk about my credit card debt so you feel better about your finances. I am currently, as of this morning, have $55,399 of credit card debt. And that is across 7 different credit cards. So let's go through each of them. This one right here, this is actually a balance transfer from Citi Cards. And this currently has $2,070 on it. Be the first one I actually pay off because this zero balance actually ends in June of this year. So that will be a priority as of right now. So number 2 is actually a care credit through Symphony Bank. And this currently has $6,439 on it. Now, we got this one last August when our dog had to get surgery to remove underwear from her stomach. So that was a really big blow on our credit payoff journey because it added about $9,000 to our credit card debt. Number 3 here is another Citi card, and this one has $13,754 on it. So the next 2 I have actually really hurt, and this is where the majority of our debt is. So the next one I have is Williams-Sonoma, and this one has $17,863 on it. And the last one that I have here is Wells Fargo, and this is my oldest credit card, and I have had this since I was 19 years old, and I'm turning 38 on Saturday. So you can do the math of how long I've had this one. And it also has the lowest interest rate of about 12%, which is amazing for a credit card. But this one is essentially maxed out at $24,999.
I know that in comparison to other credit cards right now, 12% isn't bad, but if you got a car loan that was 12%, that would be considered pretty bad on maybe a $25,000 vehicle, just like the maxed out card. So it's still a ton of interest at the end of the day. I think she had a card from Symphony Bank, which might have been that bank that I didn't know about earlier or probably pronounced wrong. The dog underwear story was completely out of left field, but 7 different credit cards over $55,000. She did say that she was actively trying to pay it off, but if any one of these companies do want their money now, they still can try to sue you.
Average credit card debt by income. This data was collected by the Federal Reserve as part of their survey of consumer finances, which was completed in 2023. The way that they have this income data segmented is actually by income percentile, but for more relevant comparison, I'll be sharing the median annual salary for each income percentile. Before we begin, no matter where you fall on this list salary-wise, I don't think anyone should be paying the average credit card interest rate of 24.28%. If you have credit card debt, please prioritize getting it out of your life. To begin the list, at the lowest income percentile, a median annual salary of $20,540, 33.4% of these people have credit card debt with an average balance of $3,630. Moving on, median annual salary of $43,240, 46.4% of these people have credit card debt with an average balance of $3,840. Next, median annual salary of $70,260. 56.9% of these people, the highest in this list, have credit card debt with an average balance of $5,950. Next up, median annual salary in the 6 figures at $115,660. 54.4% of these people have credit card debt with an average balance of $7,440. Median annual salary of $189,160. 44.6% of these people still have credit card debt. I do not understand this. An average balance of $8,900. Finally, this is unbelievable. I have no idea why these people would still have credit card debt. But a median annual salary of $390,210. 25.4% of these people have credit card debt with an average balance of $11,000.
I don't know why his video abruptly ended like that. It was the original upload, but the $390,000 a year income still had on average over $11,000 in credit card debt. And no matter where you are on the income, it was almost 50% of people had revolving credit card debt. Now, hopefully, if you're watching this video, you're not one of the 50%, but it still shows even if you make $189,000 or almost $400,000 a year, that lifestyle creep can still get you into credit card debt. Now, it's clearly not nearly as bad compared to somebody making like 20 or 40 and 70,000, but I agree with him. If you're making that much money, there is no reason why you have revolving credit card debt at all.
I got sued by American Express for a credit card that I never paid back. What should I do? I mean, pay it. You know, if you got sued for a debt that you actually recognize and accumulated, the best option is to not just ignore it, it's to pay it. You can reach out to the law firm or American Express and come to a payment plan with them in order to settle and satisfy the debt. Otherwise, if you ignore it, then you could potentially have it lead to a judgment or even worse, a garnishment where they're pulling the money out of your paycheck directly and you don't have a choice in that matter anymore. So I recommend, again, if you happen to get sued on an account that you recognize, make sure to respond. You typically have 20 days to respond to a summons. The other thing to keep in mind is you need to make sure that if you are getting sued, they need to serve you the papers in person, not just drop it off at your doorstep. Because who's to say that you actually did or didn't receive the summons if it was just left on your doorstep and you weren't actually receiving it in person? So reach out to American Express or the law firm, come to a settlement. A lot of people, unfortunately, try to avoid these scenarios, and it typically plays out not in their favor. I'd rather you be on the safe side and protect yourself from a potential garnishment down the line.
So I guess that's why in the previous stories we heard the police coming to the door and other people serving them papers in person. And we have an example with American Express, what we heard earlier. Very good legal team, and they'll do anything to get their money back. Now I think for some people, even though I don't 100% agree with this, might need to start thinking of not using credit cards at all.
If you're $7,000 in credit card debt, the first thing you're going to do is take those cards, find a shredder, and shred them immediately. The fact that you got here with credit card debt means that you're going to do it again. So you will never use a credit card again the rest of your life. The next thing is don't lose hope. $7,000 is a very reasonable amount to having credit card debt. There are people with $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 in credit card debt. The fact that you are leaving this comment and you're watching my videos tells me that you want to do the right thing. So don't be discouraged. You are in a very workable spot.
So as I've said, I'm not against credit cards as a whole. If you have the discipline and you're not going to overspend, even if you have a crazy high limit, depending on what you use, you're leaving money on the table. Points, cash back, miles for flights. Because at the end of the day, maybe you're not going out and spending a whole ton of money on frivolous items, but everybody needs their necessities: gas, paying bills, groceries. And in today's world, that still means a lot of money. So if you could get a couple percent cash back, or maybe some miles, extra points, whatever it is, I think that could be a good thing for a lot of people. But others don't really think that way. They see a $10,000 credit limit and they think that they could just spend $10,000. And then unfortunately, they could get into a situation as we saw in this video.
I posted a video about fighting an old credit card debt because they're trying to sue me and garnish my wages. And I have a lot of people in my comments telling me I should pay my bills. No, unless it's an immediate monthly bill that could get something cut off in my house, it is not considered a necessity to me. I don't care if I rack up the debt myself. If I can't pay it and I don't pay it, you gotta fight me for it. There is no moral compass when it comes to these companies for me. I don't give a f. There was also a lot of people very concerned about my credit score. You guys are more concerned about it than me. I don't care about my credit score. A lot of people move through life without actually ever using their credit score. I'm one of those people. I don't let their scare tactics scare me. The debts get passed from company to company to company to company, and by the time it gets to company number 5, they paid like $2 for my $900 debt. They're not getting that money. End of story.
Unless they take you to court, which they did with this person, and are also trying to garnish her wages. Seems like they are going to be getting their money at the end of the day. And just like her saying she has no moral compass for these companies, neither do they. They don't care what's going on in your life. They just want their money. And also her saying she doesn't care about credit score, she's not going to use it, probably because it tanked. It's very difficult in today's age to go through life not using it at all. Obviously, people are going to look at it for any future credit cards, if you want a mortgage, a car loan. But even if you want to rent an apartment now, landlords check your credit. So does that mean you're going to pay everything in full in cash for the rest of your life? With home prices being an average $400,000 and a new vehicle being $50,000, I don't think too many people could do that. We got a comment from you guys right here. I know someone who stopped paying her minimum payments because she couldn't afford them and now Discover is taking her to court. And she blames everyone else in her life for her debt and situation. And now we could go over to a clip that I guess is more common than I thought, because there's a good amount of people who don't even know you could get sued by these credit card companies.
People don't even realize they can be sued for debt. Like, this is mostly credit card debt, and people just presume it goes away. It's maybe going to hit their credit report. They're going to get some collection calls. Most people are shocked when they realize that's not the reality of what happens. People actually do get sued for debt. If you default on a credit card, you're going to get sued. You're going to be served with a lawsuit. And so then you end up you either hire an attorney like us, or you just don't do anything. You end up with a default judgment where they can, at that point, they're going to garnish bank accounts or wages in most states.
And this goes very well with a comment from you guys talking about an older clip. The first video with a woman absolutely astounded that a credit card company would sue people for unpaid debts, saying this has never happened before. I worked for a credit division of a major national catalog store back in the early 80s. We were suing people back then for long-term delinquency. Like they said in the last clip, I feel like some people just think that they're going to get a lot of phone calls. They'll ignore them and block all the numbers. You'll take a credit hit, it won't look good for a while, and then that's it. You're in the clear. And that's just not what happens. We could take a look at some clips on screen. Me when Amex mailed me a letter saying they were going to sue me because I stopped paying my credit card for like 6 months. When Best Buy sued me for $969 because I stopped paying my credit card. Me ignoring the debt collectors knowing they just sued me and I'm actively going to court for medical bills. eBay sending me to collections for $11.86. And another, I don't need to worry about my credit card debt. Nobody pays that anyway. It's all a scheme. And then you get sued by your creditors.
I have to do something upsettingly adult. So, I'm being sued for credit card debt. And I had a tattoo scheduled next week. A tattoo that I have been trying to get for over a year, that I already had scheduled and rescheduled multiple times. I finally put a deposit down and was committed and ready to go in and get that tattoo. But since I am being sued for credit card debt, I have to get an attorney, and the flat fee that the attorney is asking for is exactly the amount that I had saved for the tattoo. So, tragically, I have emailed my artist to reschedule once again, and I am going to use my tattoo money for my legal fees.
It's weird. It's like actions have consequences. You had enough money to put down a deposit for the tattoo, but you still didn't want to pay back the credit card debt. And I mean, even call the company. It's much easier for them to put you on some sort of payment plan instead of going to court. But like we saw with the last clip, she thought nobody pays it back. It's all a scheme. And then you end up getting taken to court. But still, there are so many people who don't take this seriously at all.
You owe $1,000. Don't know where you're getting that from. Genuinely don't know how you're gonna get that.
I don't understand why debt collectors even call me anymore. I gotta be on like a database of, because why the if I didn't pay the initial entity that I owed the money to, and then it hit my credit, why would I pay little bro after it already touched my credit?
To anyone that works as a debt collector, you're gonna have to pry that from my corpse. You're not getting a dime. You're not getting you. Stop calling me!
And no matter how much you scream to your iPhone in the car, they'll still go after you for the money. We'll take a look at the comment sections for these clips. This makes me feel better about having debt collectors calling me right now. T-Mobile is currently suing me over $140. I owe $1,700 and they act like I took out $200,000. Well, if $1,700 is such a small amount to you, why don't you pay it back then? It's virtual money anyway. It doesn't exist, so we're paying back the bank's money that never really existed the way I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. You are. This is the same argument that I see in almost every one of these comment sections. Whether you think that this is fair or not, that's just how finances work in the world now. But when it comes to you, they could take everything away from you just to recoup the debt you owe. They called me last week about a loan in 2020 for $700, saying that they're taking me to court. I don't care, bye. And this is me with my school loan. And I think that's a pretty good transition into the next clip.
Hey, so, I don't know why nobody talks about this, and maybe it's just because I'm the only one, but my mom told me that I wasn't. I ignored my student loans, and it just hit my credit, and now I feel like a failure. And now I have to figure it all out. No one ever teaches you how to pay the back.
Okay, so I know this isn't exactly credit card debt, but in the same realm, but this is now happening to so many people as well.
This could impact millions of student loan borrowers who are in default. Starting in January, some of them could have their wages garnished. That means payments taken directly from their paychecks, but the education department says that wouldn't start until they've received sufficient notice and opportunity to repay their loans.
So imagine you getting the 1-2 punch, being taken to court for credit card debt while you're already getting garnished for not paying your student loans. I would not want to be in that situation whatsoever. But let's move on to a couple clips with just horrible financial advice.
Listen, if you can't pay for your car anymore, just stop paying for it. Hide it. They're not going to look for it forever. If you can't afford your credit cards no more and it's stopping you from being able to invest in your business or your life or whatever, just stop paying for it. Like, just stop paying for it. These banks don't give a about you. These people don't give a about you. You're a number. They're trying to make money off you. That's all they care about. You quit paying, they're going to sell the debt off, and they're going to move on. They're going to probably get paid twice for it because they're going to still chase after you for the balance. They might sue you, just don't answer the door. Yeah, maybe they could serve you in the newspaper, but probably they won't. It depends on where you live.
Okay, so that was a pretty hard watch. We'll just go through the whole clip. First with the car, just stop paying it, hide the vehicle so the repo man can't get it, and I guess she thinks after a few weeks or a few months they're just gonna give up and go, alright, yeah, that's fine, you got a free car. And if you have seen the repossession videos on this channel, you know that that is not true. Then with the credit card companies, they don't care about you, you're just a number, which is true and exactly why they are ruthless. They don't care that that you just lost your job and you're falling behind on payments. They're still going to sue you regardless. I do like that when she was talking about the credit card companies selling off the debt to someone else, she paused for a second or two because she knows that those companies will also sue you as well. You're not going to get off the hook with them either. And then her sound advice of just don't open the door, ignore being sued. For some reason, I don't think that that's the best decision. We'll go over to some of the comments. No ma'am, the credit card people will sue you. The car advice is really bad. They'll go hell and back to get a car. Exactly. You took out a loan, why not just pay it? We're adults and should be more responsible. And she replies, boring. We got another comment from you guys right here. This is why it's called a credit card and not a gift card. But we'll just move on to yet another terrible clip.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but don't pay those credit cards. Default on them credit cards. If you're young and you don't need your credit right now, if you're not trying to buy a car, if you're not trying to buy a house, why are you paying that? Most of that is going to interest. You done up, you done maxed them out. What you're gonna be paying that for the rest of your life, homie. Don't pay it. Default. Let it go to collections. Let me tell y'all. When I was younger, when I was a young lad, no, but for real though, when I was younger, I said, you know what? I was like I was in the industry, I was a server, and I was like paying my credit cards, but I'm like, damn, I could have so much money if I was just not paying this right now, because like it'd be rent, credit cards, broke again. I was like in this vicious cycle. So I said, and I was checking everything, and I'm like, damn, this is going to interest. Like, I'm never gonna pay this. I remember I did like a calculation for me. It was like 15 years. I was like, 15 years? Who has 15 years? Not me.
This is a perfect example of why I think financial literacy is very important at a young age. Just another person who doesn't know how interest works. Along with overspending and living above your means, being a server, maxing out the credit cards and not being able to pay them back. We could go over to a couple of comments. Yeah, don't follow this advice. Worst advice on the planet. And at least I was a little happier because that's what most of the people thought in this comment section. But we'll move on to another person getting sued for $10,000.
Here's day one of trying to come up with $10,000 because I'm being sued. So why am I being sued for $10,000 actually? Because I tried to go to college. Because I graduated from college, actually. So around my second year of college, I decided to get a credit card because books themselves were $3,600. As a 20-year-old who was in college, clearly didn't have a job, and needed a way to come up with money for books, for food, for basic necessities. And let me remind you, this is what these cards prey on, okay? You literally see notifications everywhere. Get the student credit card and get $1,000 back on every book you buy. Not true, by the way. So then, of course, as any college student would do, I rack up the credit card, buying my books, buying my food, sometimes my alcohol, and then I graduated in 2020.
Okay, so this clip is a lot longer than what we watched, but at the end of there, graduating at 2020, she also blamed COVID that she wasn't able to work, and then racked up more and more debt. But we'll go over to the comment section. The lack of accountability is crazy. People were allowed to work during COVID. Maybe there were more rules during it, but it's not like every single person stayed at home doing nothing for a couple years. Going to college does not equal buying things you can't afford. The creator responds, one semester of books cost $3,500. No college student has that in their pocket. Another reply, I'm a college student and have that in my pocket. It's called a job. The original creator is a little salty, and there's another comment, college students that can't afford it get jobs to be able to, not take out loans and rack up credit card debt. So you got into credit card debt, and then you thought the logical step was to increase your debt by about $50,000 after that? I don't know, a single college student who doesn't have a job, unemployed at 20 is insane. Girl, did you think it was free money? Why weren't you working? I'm a full-time student and I work. I'm just confused on why you didn't be responsible. There was a lot more comments like that, but we got another one from you guys. I can understand needing to rely on a credit card in a difficult situation, but I absolutely can't understand frivolous spending and then just not paying. How do people live with that hanging over their life? Even my mortgage is stressing me out. I feel the exact same way. I would be stressed out all the time, and I'm not trying to take away the fact that more people are relying on credit cards just to survive, the groceries, the bills, the necessities, but then on the other hand, you see a lot of people living above their means, buying whatever they want, primarily just to impress people online.
Yeah, I'm so overly stressed out right now, and I'm really just trying to continue to motivate myself to work because I have no motivation to work right now. Just this week, I got extra hours, which made me become a full-time worker here, 32 hours compared to the 12 hours that I was getting. As soon as I accepted the new hours, y'all, I got a notification that I was going to get garnished out of my check. At first, I thought it was like a scam. I'm like, what? Like, all of this is by surprise. But I knew I had stuff going on, court cases where I maxed out credit cards, all of this back then. So I kind of do a little investigation, you know. I realized that it is Capital One, and they claiming $6,275 when I only used $4,000 on a credit card.
Okay, so I'm cutting this one off also because it goes for a lot longer. I thought it was interesting that she had to look into it to realize it was Capital One. You didn't even know the credit card company that was suing you and then garnishing your wages? And then this clip goes on, another example of somebody not knowing what interest does. She maxed out a $4,000 credit card but now owes over $6,000. And yeah, now she's in a really tight spot. We got another comment from you guys right here. I worked in the court system in California for 30 years before retiring. Credit card companies have always been very aggressive in filing lawsuits to recover delinquent debt. But let's move on to the debt collector segment of this video.
Steve, do you have to pay debt collectors?
Do you have to pay a debt collector? Absolutely not. Should you pay a debt collector? Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why. You simply don't owe a third-party debt collector a dime. You don't owe it.
Let's just go straight over to the comment section. Yeah, my credit score says differently. Well, the judge that attached my wages says differently. This is yet another argument that I see as soon as the big companies, Discover, Capital One, Amex, sell the debt off to another company, you don't have to pay. Just ignore them and you're going to get away scot-free. And as we could see by some of these examples coming up, that's not what happens either.
You are being sued. Guys, read those 4 words right there. This happens to so many clients. As you can tell, this is originally from Commodity Capital Bank. They sold it off to Midland Credit, and Midland Credit said, we're going to take it to court. Guys, this process can take 6 months to a year or even longer. They have 7 years to sue you and have multiple clients in this situation. As you guys even notice here, it's only for about $1,400, which isn't much, guys. So if you have anything like this, you need to be very careful.
And there you go. Another example, $1,400. I'm not saying that's no money, but it is a little petty in comparison to people who are in $20,000, $25,000 worth of credit card debt. But it doesn't matter. You're still going to get sued.
LVNV funding will take you to court. This here is a real and legal court summons for our client who is being sued by LVNV funding for a collection that she just let sit on her credit report and that she did nothing about. Understand, collection agency's business model is to buy your debt from the original creditor for a smaller amount of money and then to come after you for the original amount with a lawsuit so that you pay it and they make a profit. Key is, a lot of the time they do not also receive the documentation that is needed in order to validate this debt if you force them to. And the only way you force them to is by filing disputes. You don't want to wait until things go this far, because after this, disputing does not work. You now have to either represent yourself in court or get a lawyer. So do not wait. If you have collections, LVNV funding, Midland Credit, all the other guys, dispute them, and if necessary, negotiate a pay per delete if it doesn't come off with disputes.
So all of the different people that I see on social media saying don't pay, just completely ignore them, is legitimately the worst advice you could give. Imagine not paying the collection company and they sue you 3 years later, and now you have to show up to court and pay the full amount. But as crazy as this sounds, I guess there's a good amount of people who take to social media to get advice when they're being sued.
Is there anybody on here who can help me? I am being sued by Capital One for a past due account. The paperwork says account stated. The notice is their very last statement they sent me on before the account was considered delinquent. I have been getting a lot of different things as I do research on this app, TikTok. A lot of people saying, go get a debt validation letter, send it to them, take it to court, tell them that you requested it so it pushes it 30 days out. Another one was saying something about a clarity report or something like that.
Why are you doing research for this on TikTok? Get a lawyer. You're just going to take the advice from random comments on the internet. But let's take this a step further.
I'm being sued by Capital One for an alleged debt of $3,405.75. Here's how I'm going to beat these allegations. Without a lawyer. Just kidding. I actually hired the best firm on earth for people like me. Broke people with nothing more than a few cents to their name. They start at $20 a month with no retainer, no talking back, no and moaning. Open AI! Before I get into it, I must warn you that this is not advice. This is just simply what I am doing.
So please don't do what he's doing. Maybe it's a step above asking random people on TikTok for this advice, but still overall something that I probably wouldn't want to rely on if I'm being sued. Some of this stuff you really can't make up.
So I got a lawsuit from my credit card for non-payments, and I spoke to a lawyer who advised that I file for bankruptcy, and I wasn't sure if that was my only option.
Lawyer?
Yes.
Yeah, well, asking a bankruptcy lawyer if you're bankrupt is like asking a dog if it's hungry.
Yeah. How much is the lawsuit, Eric?
$12,000.
What do you make?
Less than $10,000.
Why?
I'm working 2 part-time jobs. One's like $8 an hour, and the other's $12 an hour.
You're not working them much.
Yeah. How old are you, Eric?
31.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Yeah, and what's happened with you, brother?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've been kicked around.
How come you don't have a full-time job, Eric?
Well, after college, I applied, but I didn't have any help. And I lost my last job with the pandemic.
What was your last job, sir?
I was bussing tables at Olive Garden.
Okay. And you're 31?
Yes.
What did you go to school for?
Creative writing.
Okay, so when I saw this clip, I immediately thought something's missing. Now, I'm not judging, but he's not telling the whole story. You mean a creative writing degree doesn't equal instant success? I mean, we've gone over the college degrees a couple times on this channel. Just file, absolutely nothing wrong with it. You could move forward. Yeah, just after 7 years of your life. In that time, this guy will be almost 40 years old. But I think you guys got the point for this video. We'll just finish off with this clip.
Don't pay, don't pay, don't pay. That's all I see on TikTok. If you're getting jammed up by your debt collector for old credit card, I'm hearing all sorts of ways of don't pay, don't pay, don't pay. No one talks about the truth, right? No one says, hey, did you take out that card? I know you did. Was it you that spent the money? I know it was. No one wants to hold anybody accountable anymore. No one wants to say, look, you took it out, you spent it, you didn't pay it. Couple years later, somebody buys that debt and they're trying to collect on it. It's not brain surgery, guys. It's just not. But everybody's trying to beat everybody else. Again, you have to make them prove it. If it's Amex, Discover, they got you. They got you by the short and curlies. I'm sorry.
And it's just really simple as that. There's a paper trail for every single thing that you use the credit card for. And in some places, they can connect that to a CCTV camera, watching you purchase those items with that card. In today's world, somebody is watching you 24/7. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.